Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tyler Talks, where I talk about all things that I'm passionate about, like books and movies. And that's about it. I really don't have many other hobbies. Today, we're going to be talking about an interesting topic, but if you're already subscribed to my two friends, Matt and Mark, you would have already seen that they already made a video on their reading habits right here and right here. So you're probably wondering, what can I offer that is different than what Matt and Mark are talking about? And before I really get to that, I want to explain that this is going to kind of be a two-part video. The first part of this video is going to be talking about my reading habits, but the second part is going to be the more interesting part because it's going to talk about my reading habits in conjunction with the issues I have with Booktube in about 2021. So what are my reading habits? The short answer is I don't have any, and that might seem a little bit of a cop-out because it kind of is, but I'm someone who doesn't have a ton of free time all the time. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch my bookshelf tour video, I actually talk about the fact that I'm a high school teacher, which you might not be able to guess considering I look like I am a literal fetus who has just been born. But because I'm a full-time high school teacher as well as a full-time graduate student, I don't have a ton of set time during the day to read a book, which can lead to some odd reading habits. I want to preface by saying my reading habits in this video is not an attack on Matt or Mark. They're two of my best friends, and I hate them, actually. I don't like them at all. So I don't have many reading habits, and that's because I don't have a ton of time. And if you're wondering, well, how do you read books? How do you get done reading your books? How do you read any of these books on your shelves? Well, the answer is I just read. I don't have a set number of time or a set number of pages that I read each and every day. Rather, I just read when I can, and if I only read 5 pages in a day, that's still progress. And if I manage to have a free day and read 80, that's also progress. But I want to make it clear that progress is progress, regardless if you read 5 pages, or regardless if you finish the book in one day, you're still making progress. And when I watched other reading habit videos, I was very kind of shocked to find this almost like authoritarian tone of how to read and how you should be reading. For me, this very authoritarian style of reading does not mesh with who I am. Right now, I'm reading 2 different types of books. I'm reading a fiction book, Of Human Bondage by W. Somerset Maugham, however you pronounce it. And I've been busy this week. I've been having to do a lot of teaching and a lot of unit planning for my students. So in the past 3 days, I've only been able to read 16 pages of a book. That might not seem a lot because it isn't, but it's a few pages each day, and it's progress, and progress is all that matters. The second book I'm reading is actually, I'm taking inspiration from Mark. Matt talked about it in his video as well, but I'm actually trying to read a short story every night before I go to bed, and again, sometimes it doesn't work. Like last night, I was up until 12:30 prepping for the next day, but I'm reading Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory, short stories by Raphael Bob Waxberg, who is the creator of BoJack Horseman. It's a really wonderful collection of idiosyncratic and odd short stories, and I'm a very big fan of it so far. But what does that mean in terms of my reading habits as a whole? I don't have any. Again, it seems like it's a long form kind of answer to get to this simple thing, but I don't. And I don't believe that anyone should necessarily look at someone else's reading habits and go, I want to mirror that, because it probably doesn't work to your liking and to your style as a reader. I know Mark likes to focus on read multiple kind of like different styles of books at each different time. I can't do that. I really can't. I'm not someone who loves reading nonfiction. I find the world of stories to be far more interesting. I can't read a nonfiction book and a fiction book at the same time. But that doesn't mean someone else's reading style is wrong. That just means that my reading style is more suited to me. And it's something that I've crafted over many, many years of reading and reading and reading and trying different styles and trying different ways of engaging in different styles of books. My reading style is chaotic. I can read a book in 6 days, I can read a book in 2 days, or I can take a month to read a book. I'm not one of those people that aim to read 20 to 30 books in a month, but we'll get to that in the Booktube section of this. But I like to focus on just trying to get at least one good book a month. If I read 1 book a month, that's progress to me, and that's good progress. I'm someone who would rather focus on 1 book and spend a lot of my time on it than speed read through a bunch and not gather as much as I would want to. So you're probably wondering, how does this all tie into Booktube in 2021? Well, first, cue the montage. before I start this individual section, I want to preface one thing. Any of the thumbnails or any of the videos I just showed you on that montage is not me attacking the creators in any capacity. I don't know anything about them. They all seem like very good people based on their videos, based on their personalities. I really am not attacking them. I am just questioning the content that they're putting out and how that makes reading almost inaccessible to new readers nowadays. But how is that the case? How can these giant, I just bought 50 books in a book haul video, or I just read 150 books in the course of 1 year, or I read 50 books in 1 month? How is that breaking down and establishing too many barriers for new readers to get into? Well, it comes down to a few different things. The first thing is that Booktube in 2021 is almost perpetuating the consumerism and constant buying of as many books as possible. Now, before you immediately turn behind me and go, Tyler, look, you have 100,000 books behind you, you're kind of being hypocritical. Yes and no. Yes, I'm someone who loves to engage in consumerism, and yes, I'm someone who likes to collect physical copies of books. But everything you see here has been collected over the past 9 to 10 years. It has taken me years to buy and collect all these books because of a number of different reasons, which I'll get to in a little bit. But this constant perpetuation of buy, makes it so new readers like, do I have to do that? Is this something that I have to engage in to keep up with reading? And the short answer is no, not at all. That style of reading and that style of mass consumerism where you buy as much as you can is in no way feasible for the large majority of people in the world. A lot of people are plagued by kind of like economic issues and the lack of ability to buy as many books as possible. And when booktubers are constantly putting out videos says, I bought all these books at once, I bought all these books at once, I bought all these books at once, it's almost creating this notion for new viewers and people who want to get into reading that this is the approach you have to take to get to the level that these booktubers are at. Again, I'm not attacking who they are. I'm not attacking their character. I'm not attacking anything about them. Just the content they put out is creating this weird sense of distance between people who want to get into reading and people who are already reading and love it as much as I do, as much as you do, as much as everyone on Booktube does. Many people who can't afford to buy all these kind of books may look at these videos and think, there's no point. If I can't do what they're doing, then what's the point of getting into reading? And as a high school teacher who witnesses my students have dwindling passions in reading and books and engaging in this material, it's heartbreaking because I want to see content put out there where it's almost accepting and welcoming of new readers, not creating this barrier of personality where it's, I bought all these books and therefore I have all this information, or I bought all these books and this is what I am as a reader, because it creates this illusion that reading is this finite thing. It's this one style, when in actuality, it can take many different forms. Reading can be someone taking 3 months to finish one book because, as I talked about my reading habits, progress is progress. You don't have to read 150 books a month, 150 books a year. 150 books a month would be insane, but 150 books a year to be a good reader. A good reader is someone who continually tries to improve and continually practices reading, regardless of their level. You do not have to buy and read and mass consume books at a sheer impossible level to maintain to be seen as a good reader. You can read 10 pages a day, not even, and be a good reader. Me personally, I'm someone who would rather master one book and know it fully and understand everything about it. Let's take Catcher in the Rye, for example. I would rather master Catcher in the Rye than do a book haul with 50 books that I'm not super familiar with. It is this definite sense of quantity over quality. It probably creates this mentality of how can I even compete or how do I even begin? It also creates books and reading almost as like a competitive sport. You have to buy more and you have to read as much as possible to be ahead and to be better than everyone in a certain sense. And again, it might seem hypocritical looking at my shelves, but there's this weird sense of competitiveness where book reading should be a community of people who want to engage in a material. After I made my A Little Life video, I went through and just browsed forums, browsed Reddit about Goodreads, I browsed Twitter, I read articles about people's opinions on a little life. That's what reading should be. Reading should be delving into a world and then experiencing that world with other people and the unique perspectives and how they view a book and the characters in that book. Reading should not be a competition to buy as much as you can or read as much as you can. For some, that's how they want to do it. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I just have issue with how it's creating this distance between established readers and new readers. Mark made this video about what he wants his channel to be, and for me personally, viewing all my interests and viewing how as I am as a teacher and what I view in my students, I want my channel to be an entry guide for new readers to get into different types of books and into different types of styles of reading, or even different types of authors. I never want to be this persona that perpetuates books, 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 buy as many as you can. Rather, I may want to make videos on one specific book and like a beginner's guide on how to get into that book and what you should do if you're a new reader. Of Human Bondage is a classic book, and because it has that classic stigma, it can be intimidating to even get into. And what I want to do is create content so people can go, I want to read of Human Bondage. Where do I start? What should I know? And I don't see many people in Booktube doing that in 2021. So what does this mean for me? What does this mean for me as a creator in any capacity? It just means you're going to get more specific videos on specific types of books, styles, literary movements, really anything. Almost like a teaching guide that would fit into who I am as a person. But I want to help new readers get into books. Booktube is not infallible, and I know that many people will probably read this as me trashing on it, and I am. Admittedly, I do think there are some problems with Booktube, and that's okay. I'm not perfect. I'm going to make many mistakes along the way as I create videos. It's just how it is. But as a neutral viewer, as someone who recently started observing all this stuff and looking at the type of content that people create, I can't help but to be taken aback by the lack of accessibility for new readers and new audience members. I think books should be a unifier with the entire world. I do not think they should act as a sense of barrier between people who want to get into reading and people who don't. Books should unite people with differing experiences into one unifier. People should be able to read a book and take their own unique perspectives and history and background and everything and plug it into a story and see what they take out of it. Buying all these types of books, I think, really changes what reading is. It changes it from an enjoyment and an escape and an experience into consumerism, into a competition, and into something that almost betrays the sense of what books are as a whole. I know people read this way, and I know this is how people want to read, and I'm not going to criticize that at all. Some people can read that much. That's great. Please educate everyone on what books they should read. If someone comes to you with a recommendation, give it to them. That would be very helpful. I just think there are issues that need to be addressed. If you guys like the content, be sure to like, subscribe. But if you haven't checked it out already, Matt made this great video about... What video did Matt make? Matt made this great video about his reading habits. I already pointed it out there, but he also has The Sun Also Rises from the Perspective of a Traveler, which is a great video. And then Mark has his plan for his future channels, which is an awesome video. If you're excited about kind of community content, go check that out. Go check out Matt. If you're checking them out and you don't know who they are already, I'm surprised. Go let them know I sent you, and go let them know that I'm better than them because I need the validation in life. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.